I'm here with Nova. Of course, I'm here to get you through this new training, the stat strip meter, take you through a set of QCs, a patient test, and I'm available to answer any questions that you have. You guys jump right in there. Don't hold your questions to the end. Go ask me. Hopefully I got an answer and I can answer in real time, okay? Another little disclaimer, I talk really fast. My mom said I've been doing it since birth. If I talk too fast, you guys roll me down. If you roll me down, I'm gonna slow down. If you're not the type of people to roll somebody down, you just give me a little dirty look and I'll know that I'm going too fast. Now my goal is to have you out of here in 35 to 40 minutes. If I get a dirty look, I gotta slow down. If I slow down, I want you to look around the room and see who's looking at me. I want you to look at them. They will be the reason you're in here for an hour. So, all right. But with that said, no pressure. Do what you do. All right. Is there anybody in here who has already worked with this meter? Is this a refresher for anybody? Nobody? In the beginning, I'm going to be telling you just what this meter is capable of doing. I'm going to be telling you what you're looking at when you're looking at this meter. I'll be talking way too fast for you to try to keep up with me, okay? We move faster if the meters stay down until it becomes hands-on training. When it becomes hands-on, I'll ask you to wake up your meters. At that point, we pick them up and we go through what I just said, step by step, okay? So don't feel pressure to try to do or have your meters flip it and manipulate. And I do this because my trainer thought, okay? You see me waving it in the air like a crazy person. That's me jogging my own COVID brain, all right? All right. So with that said, this meter, scanner is here at the top. This little scanner is a class 2 laser. It's no good for anybody's eyes. If this scanner is on, we're gonna tap scan release. We're gonna aim downward, 4 to 6 inches away from what we're scanning. They say that it's our little sweet spot. Sometimes, especially in the beginning, as we're getting used to using this meter, you may have a little difficulty getting a scan. Aim further downward. Sometimes you have to pan in and pan out. Downward protects everybody's eyes, but it also decreases the interference from the light above. So if you're having trouble, just go a little bit further downward. You should get a quick scan, okay? This scanner, if it's on for too long, it will time out. That is just as a safety mechanism to keep our eyes and your patient coworker eyes safe. When you insert a test strips, they're going to be inserted into this little port well in this little right-hand corner. There is a little bit of resistance. These strips are a little bit flimsy. Best practice for me is to pinch the strip and to push it in past that resistance. When we insert this strip, we're going to insert it, go full into the strip, blue side face up. When it's inserted properly, this meter will go from displaying an insert strip picture to apply sample. Never dose this strip if it's not asking you to apply a sample. If it's still saying insert, push, and if you can't get it, take it out and just reinsert it. Never dose this test strip if the meter has gone dark in the process because it won't start analyzing, okay? So make sure you have an illuminated meter and that this is seated properly. When you get your results and you accept them, it's time to get rid of your strip. 2 things. You can take this out if you want to be like everybody else, or you can be fancy and hit this ejector on the back of this meter, right? This ejector is great for infection control. Here's my little disclaimer. Wherever you got this aimed, it will go, so make sure it's aimed downward over your biohazard. That way you don't put anybody's eye out because it comes out with a bit of a projection, so have it aimed where you want it to go. That is great for infection control. The only reason and the only time I want you to forget completely about that injector, if you find yourself with a little glob of QC solution on this test strip while you're doing your QC, don't pick it up to eject it. You risk having it run back into the port well if you invert it, and you could possibly cause some liquid damage on the meter. So if you get a glob, just pull it out the regular way. Any other time, the ejector is there for you. Any questions about that? On the back, you have a little battery compartment. If you're old enough, you may remember we had those on our cell phones at one point. Some of you guys don't remember, but we did. We used to have to troubleshoot our cell phone, and the meter is no different. If this frees up or start acting weird, you can do what we call a hard reset, a reboot. You don't have to do this with me, but we take that battery out. We leave it out for a couple of seconds. We replace this battery. Now this battery is key, so we're going to be replacing it metal to metal, okay? We're going to put it in there. We're going to secure our cover, get a snap, and in a few seconds, this meter has been rebooted. It'll fix 99% of the problems that is wrong with this meter. That's our main troubleshooting step for the meter. Any questions there? The only time we're taking that battery out is to reboot it. They're expensive, so we don't want to take it out just to be taking it out. This meter is touchscreen Wi-Fi enabled. There's no on and off button on the meter. Don't get tempted to start pressing that little button at the top here thinking it's the on and off button. It's not. If you press that for too long, you will send this meter into some little weird programming language. I don't know how to get it out of it, okay? So don't press it, definitely not in this training, but never press that button. If you find yourself pressing that, Hopefully enough, you're close enough to that docking station, just dash over there, dock it real quick. Hopefully you can stop it from getting locked into that techie language. If not, go ahead and start that walk to the lab to get a loaner. Okay, so word of advice, never press anything at the top that look like it should be pressed. There's no on and off button. On the opposite side of that little notch, that is actually a thermometer. If you pick this meter up and it has a red thermostat here, it got too hot or too cold. Just sit it somewhere, let it warm up or cool down, and it will send this meter back into operation for you. Almost never happens, but it recently happened to me in Pennsylvania. Go figure, right? On the opposite side of that, with this meter not having an on and off button, be mindful of your battery indicator. If it goes anywhere near red, consider this meter dead. For that reason and more, if this meter is not in your hand in use, it should be at home on a docking station so it can stay current, charged, and easy to locate for the next person. So when it's not in your hand, have it on the docking station. Touchscreen Wi-Fi enabled. It's important to know your goal with the stat strip meter is not to get a patient result. It's not to get a result. Your goal with this meter is to accept the result that you get. You're going to see a little green accept button populate on every test. As such, once this accept button populates, press it. It's the only way to get your results from the meter into your charting system. Paragon. What is the one I've never heard before? What is the name of it? Paragon. That's the only way to get it out of that meter to that. Okay, so make sure we hit accept. In the beginning, think of this as the send button on your text message. You can type a text all day, but if you don't hit send, it don't go nowhere. Same thing here. You can't dock it and pick it back up and remember that you didn't accept it. And I'm going to give you a best practice to make sure that you always accept the results. So just know your goal is to accept the results. With it being Wi-Fi enabled, as soon as you hit accept, off it goes to your chart in real time. Okay, so it's point of test documentation. This meter will hold 1,000 patient tests, 200 QCs. I'll show you how to review that towards the end. It'll pick up glucose ranges as low as 10, as high as 600. Anything below 10 is going to populate as a LO, and anything above 600 will populate as a HI. Note, all criticals that populate on this meter will be indicated by 2 red arrows in the corner in some direction, up or down. 2 red arrows let you know that's a critical result. Any questions about that? All right. With that, when this meter is not in use, put it on a docking station. The docking stations serve 3 functions, of course, to keep this meter charged, but also patient information is uploaded, downloaded in this meter, and also when it's docked, that's when your bed reassignments and other pertinent information, lot changes, that sort of thing is all uploaded when it's docked. So point of test, accept, sends your result, docking it keeps it current with everything else, so make sure it's docked. When we dock it, we never want to dock and walk away without seeing that far left light illuminated orange or green. If it's orange, it's charging. If it's green, it's fully charged. If it's not illuminated, we have a problem. We got to do some troubleshooting, okay? So if it's not illuminated, first thing we're going to do is make sure it's seated properly, not inverted. We did that and it's still not illuminated. Go ahead and turn your docking station around. Get that power cord, trace it all the way back to the wall. It's very likely you got a coworker with a fully charged cell phone who forgot to plug back in that docking station, okay? Plug it in. We should be back in business. That will help. That center light, if it's flickering, if this is illuminated, you may get an error like, do it. It should have did it. It'll give you some, there it is. It'll give you that. If you pick that up, it's okay. If you see that, go ahead and pick it up. The meter is just saying to you that it was busy uploading or downloading information. Your patient test is more important. Just whenever you're done, make sure you return it to the docking station so it can finish uploading or downloading that information. That last light on the far right, right now, I understand you're not going to have a hardwired docking station on the units. They're in conversation about it. But if it was illuminated, it's letting you know that there's an Ethernet cord going directly to the wall. It is hardwired for any connectivity issues you may have. If you have Wi-Fi issues, you would use the docking station with the far right light illuminated. With that said, on the meter at the top, there is a little icon for Wi-Fi. It looks like a T. It's going to be yellow. Don't worry about it. Whether you have Wi-Fi or not, I want you to use this meter, but just hit accept. When it picks up Wi-Fi, everything crosses over at that point as long as you accepted your results. So use it if it's available. Get a look at that little spare battery. Look, good, gone. You'll never see that again. You guys are not gonna have that spare battery. They're expensive, and I don't think they trust you guys with them. But that is what that little compartment on the back is for, that little spare battery. Any questions about the docking station? No? Let's talk about your supplies. To do your test, you're going to need your test strips. You're going to find them in your supply closet in this white box. Inside of this box is 2 of the cans that's in front of you. When you open this box, Both cans are considered open, so put an open and a discard date of 6 months on both, okay? I've done it here. I've done it here. If you have a little piece of Scotch tape, clear tape, go ahead and wrap it around that label. It keeps it from rubbing off. That way Jacob don't catch you slipping with no undated supplies, okay? So if you got a little piece of tape, put it right over that label and stop it from rubbing off. Any questions there? Open your can up for me. When it's open, I want you to take 3 of them out. Look at that little white lining that's going around the inside of your can. That is called a desiccant. It is there to protect those strips from heat, humidity, anything that's in the atmosphere that can cause them damage. If that is left open for too long, the integrity of the strips will be compromised. So make sure as soon as we're done extracting our strips, we close it up. All right. Now let's look at our strips. Our strips are tiny, but this is they're packed full of technology. When we insert our strips, of course, we're going to be inserting with the gold foil into our meter. Blue side is faced up. On the opposite side of the gold foil, there's a little white box. Inside of that white box, to the naked eye, it looks like 4 little gold dots. Those are actually whales. At the end of that, there's a little blue strip, as indicated by my fancy red arrow. That little strip is housing a white notch. I said a lot to get you to look at that little white notch. It is the only opening into this strip. This strip, if you feel it, is completely covered in plastic. It's an endose strip. So think of that white notch as being at the end of the strip, sort of under the strip. So when we go to dose, I have a little picture there, and I also have one here. When we go to dose that strip, our goal is to get our nozzle to the end of that white notch, or our patient finger to the end of that white notch. That white notch will suck up exactly 1.2 microliters of blood or QC solution using capillary action. It's not possible to overdose this strip, so get a good sample. It is possible to underdose it. If for any reason you don't get your sample, and one continuous pass or squeeze across all 4 of the gold dots, you will get an error. It looks like a little Ghostbuster symbol. I call it the flow analysis error. If you get this, it just means you tried to be sneaky and double dip and it said no, or you pulled away too quick, okay? If you get that, take that strip out, put another one in, no problem. You can minimize the chances of you getting this if you just keep your nozzle, your test strip in contact with the nozzle or your patient finger until that little countdown start. Once that 6-second countdown start, that is your cue from the meter that your sample crossed all 4 gold wells and have started analyzing, okay? So that is what that is. If you attempt to top dose this strip, it's just gonna puddle right here. So it's not gonna make it into the strip. So be the guy to get it into the end of the strip. And I'll give you a little best practice about that in a minute. Any questions with that? No? All right, the best time to get this strip out of your meter is as soon as you get your result. The longer it's in the meter, the greater risk it is as getting an accidental moisture damage. So get it out as soon as you get your result. Like I said, the only time you cannot remove it if it's still analyzed. Any questions about test strips? All right. So your QC solutions are in front of you. You're going to find them in your supply closet in these little boxes. These are good for 3 months. We're going to be using your high and your low. Make sure you label these. Same thing with the Scotch tape. If you have it, you can put it around it. Label those. QCs are done every 24 hours. And I'm going to talk about some other times you may need to do QCs. It's getting close to lunch. I can tell my body's doing things. All right. So every 24 hours, we're going to be doing the QCs. Sometimes these will sit for the whole 24 hours. QCs will fail mainly for 4 main reasons, and I'm gonna help you not fail your QCs. The first reason is you may start with an improper concentration of that little sugar water, okay, that little solution. So to get past that, we roll it or invert it. Don't shake it vigorously because it gives us problem number 2, the air bubbles. To get rid of the air bubble, you tap it upside down. That'll take care of that. Number 3 is gonna be sugar crystals or any little contamination hanging around the nozzle. Get rid of that first drop. It'll get rid of any little contamination hanging around the first, that little drop, that little nozzle. Now, number 4, you. I normally turn around and do, let me take my name tag off because I don't want y'all Facebook. I'm telling y'all some stuff, y'all ain't gonna like it. So it's gonna be you. So what happens is we as users, we will scan one, come back and try to dose that meter with the other one, and the meter said not in my house, right? It's gonna fail your QC, but it also will help prevent that problem. Once you scan one, look down at your meter. It'll tell you which one to dose, whatever one you scan. Let's say L1 or L3. Best practice, get in the habit of starting with the same one first all the time. That way you always know. We're gonna be starting with level 1 when we get started, okay? Any questions about the QC? Know your policy for when you fail QCs. What we teach, first, change out your test strips. Those could be compromised. And then your solutions, and then if you fail the second time, take that meter out of service. But know what your policy is saying, do exactly that. Any questions about that? All right, so your meters are dark. After 90 seconds of inactivity, they've been programmed to go dark to preserve the battery. After 3 minutes of inactivity, they're gonna log you out, and that is to preserve your credentials. If not, you stay logged in all day. We're gonna wake our meters up by, go ahead and grab them, tap them 1 time for me and wait 3 seconds. I got you. Tap your meter, wait 3 seconds, it wakes up. There you go. Everybody else got one? All right. When your meter wakes up, at the top in that blue bar it says welcome. That little blue bar says welcome. Now nobody cares about my welcome, they never do. But that location is very important. That is your information center or your direction bar. I call it the blue bar. It's a fancy name for it, I just don't know what it is. The blue bar, right? This meter is gonna give you step-by-step directions. You can't mess up this meter. All you gotta do is look at that blue bar and do exactly what it's asking you to do. In front of you, I've laminated a little cheat sheet. It says invalid. Anything that says invalid when you're scanning on this meter means you're scanning the wrong thing. If it says invalid, it's the other one. If it says invalid, you simply put down what's in your hand, look at the blue bar and pick up what it's asking you to do. In the beginning, it's gonna be test strips. You're gonna be still scanning that test strip, saying it says invalid. Actually, it has moved you on. If you look at the blue bar, it's gonna be saying QC live, right? In this training, if you look at me and you say it's invalid, I'm gonna assist you, but I'm gonna be judging in my head, okay? So you guys, help your neighbors and kids, let them know. Invalid, I just want you guys to put down whatever you're scanning and look back up at the blue bar, okay? And pick that up. Now, when you pick up your meter, sometimes, we're gonna go ahead and get logged in so I can show you. Tap log in. Today we're gonna be using 1, 2, 3, 4 as your operator ID. When this is a live meter, we're gonna be scanning your name badge, all right? So just go ahead and accept the 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you get in, the blue bar opens up, it says patient test. It defaults ready for a patient test. Every now and again, you may get to this point and have a red message, or you may have a red message at the welcome screen. Anything in red stops you from moving ahead. Anything in blue is there for you, usually to help you, okay? Red is gonna be L1, L3 required, glue lock, or a little red padlock. It's been 24 hours since the meter had a QC, and we got to QC it before we can use it. If it has the red words dock required, it's been 4 hours since that meter has been docked, and you were locked out, and you just have to dock it, wait till you get the green arrow, and then you can pick it up and use it. So anything in red, you just got to take that action. Then you can use the meter. We're going to pretend like we're glue locked and tell this meter we want to do a QC. But before we do that, I gotta make sure I got the name tag. Here's the thing, Nova paid me to tell you this. I didn't make this up. Nova said for me to tell you, every time you do this QC, it has to be on a flat, hard surface. Never in life, your QC in life, can you pick that meter up and QC it, right? July the 9th, you guys go live with this meter. You're gonna do it all right that day. Maybe on the 10th, you're gonna keep this meter flat for QC, but by the 11th, you guys are experts, no longer following the rules. You're gonna be in a hurry. You have realized overnight a kindergartner could hold that meter like this and get that QC in the bottom. Don't do that. This meter is a snitch. I'm here to tell you. I'm a nurse and I use this meter. This never happened to me because I'm a rule follower. We get really good and we're doing it right. We're gonna do it right all the way until December. In January, you're gonna pick that meter up. You're gonna get nosy, you look away. You have inverted, you got QC running all down your hand. It's all over the meter. Your first, I hate to say this, but your first thought is gonna be to put it down, look around real quick for the snitch. Put it down, get another meter because you got a patient test to do. All right, you may get away and you may do that. You may put that meter down, do it, get another one, do your patient test, go to lunch, you're fine, you go home, you didn't have a good day. The next day you get a call from the lab, they want to talk to you. Do you know what happened to meter lab 4? No, because we lied when it's necessary. Let me tell you, this meter is a snitch, right? You killed this meter, you know you did. You set it down and you left it to die. But right before it died, it dumped your name over to the lab as killer because you were locked into the meter when you fried it, okay? No cold cases. They always know who killed this meter. You will never get away with it. So my word of advice, I don't care if it's a year down the line, keep this meter flat on hard fast for QCs, okay? There, I said it. You've been warned. So here we go. We're going to tell this meter to do a QC by pressing QC. All right, what does that blue bar ask you for a strip? Anything that says enter wants you to scan. So go ahead and scan your Canon test strips. Listen for the beep. Once it beep once, I want you to look back up at that blue bar. That blue bar is now asking for a QC lot. Right? It may want you to accept it if you scan it. It may ask you to accept. Is there anybody not asking for a QC lot? So if it's not asking for a QC lot, you just hit back and go back and scan your test strips again. If it's asking for a QC lot, we're gonna pick up our green and we're gonna scan that. Alright, so pick up our grid. It's going to ask you to insert the strip. Now, our pictures have started. We got it from here. This is the home stretch. The picture is going to take us all the way in. Right? So insert that strip into it's asking for a sample. Now be mindful. Look at your meter, because if it's not asking for a sample, that meter, the strip is not inserted properly. Okay? Best practice, if you turn that meter towards your dominant hand, it makes it really easy to get it in to the to that test strip. So go ahead and dose your strip. All right. Once you dose, there's a 6-second analysis. Once you do that, you should have pass or fail. QCs are pass and fail. Accept your results and get rid of your strips. Once the green trash can in front of you. Now, once you accept, I want you to look back at that blue bar. If you notice, that is my little best practice. If you accept, it takes you back to patient test. There's no way to get back to patient test without accepting it. So you'll never dock this meter and have to call the lab to get them to push over your results if you always start and end that patient test screen, okay? If you're comfortable and don't need me for anything, go ahead and tell this meter to do a QC and do level 3.
Try again. Oh, back. Am I doing something wrong? I'm doing something wrong. So it's easier. Like that?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
How was it? I feel like
What am I
the
doing
sun
wrong?
came to work. Is it getting really
I'm
hot in
doing
here?
something wrong. I don't know.
Okay, it's getting hot.
Just stand there.
So QC, we want you to do this.
Oh, that's it. I did that one first and it still said it was wrong.
There we go. There you go.
Good.
So that is it. QCs. We're back at the patient test. Normally we pick up this meter, we scan our ID badge, we're ready to do a patient test. It defaults ready to do that. So we scan in, it brings us right here to do a patient. You just hit accept. Look at the blue bar. What is it asking you to do? It wants you to scan that can of strips again. So enter the strip line. Go ahead and scan it.
No, mine's still not.
Okay. All right, scan that strip. So you put another one in there. Put that strip in there. Push it in there all the way until that picture change to apply sample. There you go. All right. Or is this your level 3 or is this a patient?
This should be this, I guess.
Okay, go ahead and try it. Okay. There you go. And then when you're done, you would just hit accept, get rid of that strip, and then go back in and do the patient. There you go.
Okay.
Accept. Get rid of your strip, and then when you're ready, hit accept again, and then follow your blue prompts. All right, is it asked for a patient? All right, so we have a little barcode to the right or left of you. Go ahead and scan that as your patient. And I have to fill you in. What you're going to be seeing is not what you're seeing today. I want to tell you what should happen after you scan your patient's barcode.
Okay, so am I going to menu to get the patient? Or?
Just hit accept. And now look at the blue bar.
Enter strip lock.
It wants you to scan that can of strips. All right. And then it's going to ask you for a patient. Go ahead and scan that patient. The little barcode near you. Now, when this meter is live, it's going to populate a patient. It's going to give you a valid patient. You verify everything is correct on that patient down to the encounter. You hit accept and it brings you right here, okay? So everybody, it should be asking you to insert a strip at this point. Go ahead and insert the strip. All right. Once you insert the strip, it's going to ask you for a sample. All right. Lucky for us, we only need one sample. All right, so under the left side of your chair, there's a tape quarter. So feel right up top, up under the chair, look for the quarter. All right, whoever got the quarter, I'm lying, there's no quarter, okay? Here's the thing, there's no quarter. So, all right, I made a little arts and craft. This little thing here that looks like a contact lens, which is a shower mat. So we're gonna actually put a drop of either one of the QCs in there, and that becomes our patient. There's a little change in the process for the patient. Our goal is to get this meter up in the air. We want to bring it down into our patient sample, either this way or this way, never inverted. If we're looking at this meter, we can see when the countdown starts. That will keep us from having to re-stick a patient. So bring it down once you get the countdown and you're good to go. Get your results, but do not accept your results, okay? All right. So, what most of us is looking at is gonna be your yellow background, red numbers, one red arrow, right? Remember, criticals are indicated by 2 red arrows up. This yellow background, one red arrow, red numbers, is your outer range, not yet critical. These background colors have been added just to grab your attention. We wanna make sure that we're paying attention to the values, so know your values, okay? All right, so look above your little box right here, it says pending, note that. To the right or left, you have the word comment. I want you to go ahead and select comment for me. All right. So once you can just go. So once you can get rid of your strips too. You can get rid if your strips are in, you can pull your strips out. Once you see your comments, go ahead and select 1 or 2 of the comments. Okay. You have the canned comments. Yeah. You have canned comments. Select up to 3, and then hit accept 1 time. All right. Once you hit accept 1 time, your result is back. Your comment has been added. This is the only opportunity that you will have to correct that comment. In case you grab the wrong one, you can go back and redo it. If that is what you want, go ahead and hit accept for the 2nd time, and it becomes permanent. Off it goes to your charting system, your EMR, Paragon? Paragon, okay. Off it goes to Paragon, and you're good to go, as indicated by you being back at a patient test screen. If you're back at patient test, you are good to go. Now, your normal values would have had a blue background, black numbers, and your criticals would have been indicated by a pinkish background, red numbers, 2 red arrows up. If you look, 2 red arrows are always on your criticals, okay? So know your policy. If you come to the criticals, I want you to use your discernment here. Know what your policy says. If you're gonna be doing a retest on that patient before you go into that lab draw, use discernment. If you use that can of strips and it took you to a critical result, best practice, don't use that same can of strips for your 2nd test. It could have been left open and compromised and somebody came hours later and closed it. If you're using those compromised strips, it's gonna bring you right back. You're gonna go into a very unnecessary lab draw. So use your discernment there. I would just grab a strip out of a neighboring can. If it turns out it passed with the 2nd strip out of another can, go back and trash that 1st can of strips. Patient safety, you can prevent a patient from getting unnecessarily stuck twice. So just trash it. Or we can all just remember to close the strips each and every time, all right? And prevent that whole situation from happening. But know what your policy says about your criticals. Any questions with that? All right, so we're back at our patient test screen. We are good to go. We could clean, disinfect, log out, but we're gonna go ahead and review. So hit review for me. All right, so what you're looking at is the last 5 tests that was performed on that particular meter. Now these meters are labeled and they don't communicate with each other. So if you go to review, know which meter you were using. I'm a nurse and I use this meter when I'm doing PRN work. Once I use the meter, it's my meter for the shift. I'm like, who got my meter? You know, so I use it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you go back to review, if you go to your chart and your results are not there and it was not connectivity issues, if you go back to that meter and you go to review, I'll show you. Click the first patient. Hit view. Look right above that patient result. You see it says accepted before it said pending. If you go to your chart and it's not there, go back to that meter, pull up that patient, pull up that test. If it says review, if it says pending and review, it was not accepted, okay? That's how you can double check yourself to see if it's Wi-Fi or if you forgot to accept it. Now, this is no good for insulin, my friends. This is no good. It's really easy to make a mistake here. Here's the thing, the pat of your finger is great. That is sensitive. You're gonna have all the patient populated. It's gonna be his 7, 11, 4. You're gonna be looking for the 11. You go to grab your finger, accident, the tip of your finger touches the 7 a.m. before the 11, the 7 a.m. populates. You see a number, you log out real quick and you run it to medicate him for that 7 a.m. He already received coverage for that, okay? Be mindful, look at that result. You see a time and a date. make sure it is the encounter that you want. I wouldn't use this for insulin, but if you do, just make sure the date in the encounter is right, because it's gonna be really easy to make a mistake.
Did you say that it only kept 5?
You scroll down, it can go all the way to
All the
1,000.
way. Okay, that's what I.
On one screen, it's
Okay.
always the last 5. Okay, all right. So, any questions about that?
What were all of the choices for comments? I didn't notice. Was there like a sliding scale?
It was 5. I didn't know if you can pan down or not, but when we get done, we can go back in, we can see it, okay? They just can comments, notify, MD, repeat, the standard comment, the canned comments, okay? But we can go back in and check it in just a minute. Any other questions? All right, so to get out of this review screen, one of 2 ways. Here's the thing. Best practice always is to dock this meter on the docking station is the automatic log out, or you can manually log out by tapping the blue bar at the top. All right, log out, 2-step log out, keep you from accidentally logging yourself out. Never hand this meter off to anybody without making sure it says welcome at the top. If it says anything other than welcome, you're still logged into the meter, okay? So make sure it says welcome. Any questions about the patient test? Any questions about anything? All right, cleaning and disinfect. Well, let me tell you about your isolation patients first. You're gonna follow your policy. Good thing with this meter, it does not care when you insert your strip. So you can take your test strip before you log into this meter, pop one in there, great, it doesn't care. When you're doing isolation patients, if you put a strip in the meter and take you one extra one into the room, that way if you get a flow error, you don't have to get rid of all your PPE just to come and get one strip. Just don't bring that strip back out the room. Make sure you dispose of that strip inside of the room. That'll save you a lot of trouble and hospital a lot of money with wasted PPE, okay? Just make sure we dispose of the strip. Make sure you're using your orange top, your bleach wipes when it comes to your isolation patient to clean and disinfect the meter. Any other time, you're gonna be using your purple top or your gray top. Know your policy when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting this meter. Your policy says you're gonna wash your hand, get a glove, you're gonna take your first wipe to clean it, you're gonna wipe away everything you can see. You're not gonna wipe that scanner, you're not gonna wipe that electrical port, and you're not gonna wipe this port well when it comes to cleaning. You're gonna let it dry, your dry time is 2 minutes, know your policy there. Once it dries, you guys are gonna be rule followers, you're gonna get rid of those gloves, wash your hand, get another set of gloves, and get your second wipe to disinfect this meter. You guys are rule followers, I know you're gonna do exactly that. So we're gonna do that, and with our second wipe, we're gonna disinfect our meter. Now to disinfect it, we're gonna wipe 3 times on every surface of this meter, right? And 3 times in all directions. We're not gonna wipe the scanner, we're not gonna wipe that electrical port, but when we disinfect it, hold this above your line of sight. If you see a little QC or blood hanging around the edge of that test port with that partly dry, this wipe is used. It should be almost a little bit dry now. We're just gonna kind of dab it if we can dab it. If not, we're gonna leave it alone, okay? But if it's hanging around the edge, we can dab it for disinfecting. We'll let it dry. Any questions there? All right, troubleshooting this meter. Taking that battery out fixed 99% of the problems with this meter. Now, if you're getting a series of failed QCs and failed patient tests, go ahead and start troubleshooting your QC supply by changing your strips first, and then possibly your solutions, whatever your policy indicates. Now, it's 10 seconds before you get off, you drop this meter on the floor. Of course, everybody picks it up. What do you do next? In the last 5 seconds before you get off, what do you do? I tell you what you don't do, friends, nurses. You don't sneak it back into the docking station and hope that nobody saw you, okay? Don't do that. Nova told me to tell you to QC this meter to make sure it's working properly for the next user, okay? So if you drop the meter on the floor, pick it up, QC it, make sure it's working properly, then return it to the docking station. When you're cleaning and disinfecting this meter, never return it damp to the docking station. Any questions about that? In front of you, there is a little quick reference guide. I understand that will be available at the docking stations. Feel free to take pictures of that quick reference guide here. It's every possible code or error that can happen on this meter while you're using it, and the solution to it, okay? They say they will be available to you, but if not, I keep one in my phone. On the back side of that is step-by-step on how to use this meter. Now, troubleshooting it. If you find yourself, it won't be you, it'll be somebody you saw do it, but they have put QC all in this meter because they picked it up even though I said here today not to. What you do is you take an alcohol pad and you open it up to its most single, I'll just pretend. You take an alcohol pad and you open up as thin as you can get that alcohol pad to its most single layer, and you take one of your test strips and you just kind of, and what you do, you take the gold end and you make it as thin as you can get it, and you wrap it as tight as you can get it, and you hold this meter above your head, and you can kind of gently wick it. Don't press it up in there, you just wick it. Alcohol evaporates quick, it should grab anything that is near, but just don't push it up in there. If that don't work, definitely take it to the lab. There's a contact for you on that paper in front of you. That's our troubleshooting for this meter. Any questions with that? All right, so you do have a competency. Have everybody read over the policy changes that before you? If not, stay behind and make sure you read that. There's a competency form in front of you. At the top, we're gonna be checking where it says acceptable. You wanna put check on acceptable 2 times, check initial, and then check that you did your training. On the back, you gotta make sure that you write your name, or where, sign your name on the back, write your name on the front, then go through and put yes on everything that was covered. Make sure you read it, because once you put a check or a yes by it, you are accountable for that body of knowledge, okay? So make sure anything you initial, check, or yes to, that we actually covered it here today. If not, ask me and I'll do my best to cover it. And then I'll take your forms